Final speaker of the day, I hope everyone's still awake, Robert Scoble.
Thanks. It's an honor. It's an honor to be speaking to you. I am sort of a futurist, but I have the pleasant job that I get to go around and see the future and then bring it to you. And the quote earlier was exactly right. It's easy to be a futurist if you get access to things you haven't seen yet, but that are being built. This is, for instance, is a picture I shot on Tuesday of a screen as a company called Stereo Labs is scanning around this room and augmenting the room. They didn't let me film what they were putting on the room, but you can guess that these two eyes that they're building, they're using two standard cameras and figuring out the difference between those two cameras, and then building a mesh of the room, and then overlaying things on top of the room in real time. So this blue mesh was being drawn as they aimed their camera around the room, and it was putting virtual items on top of this real world. Now they say they need to see Moore's law, or they need to see the world flip a couple more times. They need 10 times more speed than they have today, so to do this in real time on a mobile phone or on glasses that you're going to wear. But it's coming. So I ask, what is the world of text going to be in this world where we're going to be wearing glasses like Magic Leap that just got $1 billion, or is raising $1 billion financing round on top of already getting funded $500 million by Google. And this is a competitor called Meta, which has two 720p screens that you're going to look through, and it's going to augment the real world. What is text going to look like in this world? And what are you going to see as you wear these glasses around? Now, today they're $3,000 and they're big and ugly, but we know how computers work. The tech industry will make this in less than a decade very small and very cheap. So let's talk about Magic Leap. What am I going to see when I look through these glasses? What is my experience going to be like? And this is actually shot through the glasses, where a cartoon is being properly occluded on top and behind the real world. Ted Schilowitz, the futurist at 20th Century Fox, told me that this is Google's first $1 trillion idea. Why would he say such a thing? Because he says as you walk around, he can see you getting entertained by this thing and seeing text and other things put on top of the real world. You might say, well, it's sort of science fiction, or laugh a little bit, right? But our stadium today has 2,000 beacons in it. It knows where you are at all times. It knows when you enter the parking lots, because you check in at the parking lot with your mobile phone. And it can do all sorts of fun stuff, because it has these Internet of Things computers and radios in them, that as you walk around with your mobile phone, by the way, if you have an iPhone, has a beacon inside of it. A beacon is a little radio that spits 3 numbers into the air every 30th of a second, and things like this can tell how close your iPhone is to it. Or your iPhone can tell how close it is to this thing, right? And there's 2,000 of these beacons in the Levi's Stadium already. There's 1,200 Wi-Fi hotspots, which also can be beacons. And there's 40 gigabits of internet in and out of the stadium. So as you walk around in the future with your Magic Leap glasses, it's going to do all sorts of fun stuff. What is that stuff going to be? These are the beacons. It knows, and somebody in my talks, I do a different version of this for most of my audiences. Somebody stood up and said, I'm going to turn that shit off. I'm not going to be stalked and studied as I go to a football game, and I go, no, you're not going to turn it off. One, you're not going to get in the front door. Two, you're not going to get your food delivered to you. Already, the Levi Stadium, when you're there with the mobile app, will bring food right to your seat. And by the way, sales went up a lot. They already paid for the system thanks to the increased food sales. And it tells you where the bathroom with the shortest line is, and it navigates you from where you are to that bathroom, right? American Airlines on its app already has it. This is American Airlines. They have mapped out a lot of the airports in the world, and they're starting to build these mapping systems where it knows where you are, and it takes you to the bathrooms or to the sushi restaurant or to the gate or wherever, to the Admirals Club. This guy has started a new company called Topingo. Now, Topingo seems like a funny business. This thing is used at universities. 70% of all transactions at Santa Clara University are already going through this thing. And what is it? It lets you buy all sorts of stuff. So if you wake up and you're a student, you open up Topingo at 7 in the morning and say, I want a coffee. And it'll tell you your coffee will be ready at 7:29 a.m. And it puts the order in to a box that lights up and beeps in the restaurant and spits out a receipt that goes into the workflow of the restaurant. So think about a Magic Leap world where you just talk to it and say, I want an iced latte. And it says, your latte will be ready in 23 minutes. Go and pick it up this way. Now, that was last year's version. This year's version, actually, he knows where every customer of his is in the real world. And if you're in the Starbucks and you're also willing to deliver my latte to my class, it'll ring your notifications and say, hey, you can make $5 by delivering the Robert's latte directly to him. So he's building a decentralized delivery network. He's getting rid of Visa because he's building his own virtual currency to pay you, Bitcoin-style currency. And think about what this means to the world of customer service. These are coping glasses, little screen, about half the size of the Google Glass one already, sharper than the Google Glass one, and cheaper than the Google Glass one. So we know that Google Glass is going to come back. But if I'm an owner of a winery, for instance, at, let's say, a Paradox in Napa, and let's say you go to Camus, and you tweet one tweet and say, I bought a case of Camus at Camus. First of all, the system knows where you are. The tweet knows where you are. Right? It'll tell me when you're walking in the front door that you just bought a case of Camus and that I should take you straight to my reserve room. Customer service is going to completely change.
1.5 minutes left.
Yep. This is a glass that Snapchat bought. They're bringing connected cameras. These are new messengers that interact with the world and with each other. So,
is that Coke?
Yeah. What's that?
Is that Coke?
Yeah. Yes. And it interacts in real time with each other. So when we decide we want to go to dinner, I send a message and everybody votes on it in real time, and we see that taking place. We are seeing new kinds of glasses. These are ODG glasses, which the guy who invented them and sold his first patents to Microsoft for HoloLens. We can talk about that. We're seeing all sorts of new Internet of Things. This guy changed his business by putting an Internet of Things box in there and completely changed his supply chain and saves his family's business millions of dollars by doing that. We're seeing virtual malls. We're seeing things like Amazon Echo, Alexa. How many people have an Echo here? Do you like it? You like it? What do you use it for? Alexa is a little cylinder that you put in your kitchen or your bedroom, and you talk to it. You say, Alexa, what's the weather? The weather in San Jose is X. Alexa, play some Beethoven, and starts playing. Wake me up at 3 o'clock. Alexa, Wikipedia, Yep. And we're seeing new kinds of wearable computers that tell you where on the ski hill you are and how fast you're going and what the hang time of your last jump is. We're seeing new kinds of cars. I've worked Mercedes into this because I just saw the Mercedes self-driving car. So it ties into the earlier talk.
Absolutely.
We can talk about what that is. We're seeing manufacturing change with text involved here, where it teaches you how to make things in China or elsewhere. And it watches you as you work so that if you do it wrong, it teaches you to do it again. And it's timing you and showing your boss if you take too long. Wanted to end up with this. This is Oculus Rift. They handed me 2 controllers. And with these controllers, you can play ping pong with another human being over the internet. You can light things on fire. You can shoot guns. You can throw footballs. You can do this kind of stuff. You can fight. You can play trains.
Thank you very much, Robert.
Yeah. So that's a little taste of what we're seeing in the world and a little wrap-up of the day. Do we have time to learn what people have seen?
A 1 or 2 minutes Q&A, and then we're going to do something else with you.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
A wonderful story by Damon Knight called To Serve Man. A race comes down from the stars, and their handbook is To Serve Man, and they do everything for us, but we finally find out it's a cookbook.
It takes me back to when I first got my Apple II in 1977, my mom asked, "What are you going to do with that?" And I go, "Probably teach you to cook." So it all comes together. Yeah. Sorry. Anybody else?
One more question.
Bill.
I'll ask something. So what do you think the future of text is?
Well, we're going to see things overlaid on the world that tell us all sorts of fun things, what the news is, where to go to the bathroom, have us interact with machines, because like McDonald's even now is getting rid of the humans, and you're ordering your Big Mac on a machine, right? So the glasses and the text is going to be important, still going to be how we communicate with each other, but now it's going to be virtualized text on top of the real world, so I can read the news right here on the floor. But it's a different argument than we had like in the 80s when we were talking about what's going to be the font that we're going to use. Or right? I don't know that we're. I mean, we don't have those. Talking to Bill Hill, who did ClearType at Microsoft, and did all sorts of fun stuff by playing with how we perceive color to make the font smoother. Right? That was the big breakthrough in the 90s. I don't. Oh.
Will it remind you to hold the microphone up and down?
Oh, maybe. Sorry. Hopefully, I'll be wearing one. Bill Hill was the guy who, in the 90s, realized that he could put information in color spaces that you can perceive. So he noticed that we were good at perceiving green, and so he would put red color fringing into the font, make it smoother. That was a ClearType font smoothing technology, which is still on Windows today. That was a big breakthrough, right, in the 90s, and gave us a much smoother font. I don't think we need that we still need that, but that's not going to be the argument we're going to have in the next decade, right?
So for the last 5 minutes, because Robert is a journalist, we're going to reverse everything, and you guys are going to tell him what you thought were insights or interesting today.
Yeah.
Are you going to stand or sit, or what's more comfortable for you?
I'll sit, sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Or I'll come out and, hey, Jeff.
Do I have to start picking on people?
You can start, Frodo.
No. James, you're going to start. Name one insight from today that you thought was a little bit surprising. That's all we're going for. Well, you know what I'm asking for really is just a sentence. We're all a bit tired. We're going to have lots of wine next. So, those are two. That's it. No explanation. What surprised you?
Well, for example, when you showed us what Oculus was, that the device, what's interesting is it was doing simplistic things and rather than augmenting things that humans already do with high degrees of dexterity and knowledge, but we're limited by the amount of violence you can do to a human body, right? So, and we had an off-topic conversation or in between session conversation about non-invasive ways of imaging. How could we use that kind of technology to make our lives or healthcare better, for example?
Yep. We'll play. Here, I'll play.
I was rather struck when Ted Nelson came up to the stage with a portfolio of stuff, out of which one of the things he pulled was a kite-shaped zine that he'd produced as a teenager, and he gave a very brief description of it. I'm really intrigued to see more of it, but I thought just pulling out these physical artifacts was a really compelling thing for talking about the internet in the future. And then I loved how you concluded by saying that you design for yourself and assume that if you get something right, that it'll resonate with other people.
Tomorrow you're hearing from the guys who Adam, who started Siri, and I've seen his new thing, so I could have talked for half an hour on that, but I'm not going to blow his talk.
The one thing that occurs to me is that I see an accelerating, paralyzing increase in dependency.
Yeah. That is the downside, or one of them. Yeah. How many people know how to get around the Bay Area without a GPS anymore, right?
I was really struck by the number of presentations that included in some way a visualization of two screens or two parts of one screen that were linked and synced to each other. That surprised me.
Other surprises? Things you thought a little different about?
As I expected, there were lots of smart people and with very good ideas. But what struck me was that there was so much diversity in the things people talked about, the ideas they had, the versions or visions that they had of the future of text or of not text, as the case may be. It's kind of like pin the tail on the donkey, and there are tails stuck all around the room.
It's hard. If I had more time to go into the Mercedes car, it recognizes the street sign. So it uses the old text, and then it does stuff on top of that street sign. And it uses the street sign as a marker of how to get around in the world, right? Because if you see a street sign and you know that street sign was there, you can figure out where you are, right? By triangulating it on the street sign. So it's what they're doing at Mercedes and Tesla and Google with signs and then showing a HUD that's going to augment the world around you. It's very, very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I just wanted to piggyback something off what Rob said. I mean, I think that this idea that he was saying of that there's all these tails on the donkey, but we don't see the donkey. Yeah. That the people in this room all had very diverse everybody was working on diverse projects, but I also thought that they all integrated very well together. And that I really see that our next task collectively is how do we draw that donkey and bring all these separate pieces in, because I think there's a lot of power in this room.
I think it was your colleague that had this term on collective virtual assistant. And the smartphones has that capability. And the processing and the imaging is superior to laptops, particularly in the near future. It's very affordable. It gets into these real-life simulations, like for flying, high-performance aerobatics. But yet, I've been trying to reach out into Silicon Valley VIPs and companies whether it's SpaceX or Tesla or whatever, about a STEM program, okay, that has 7 exotic jets that do aerobatics at the level of the Blue Angels. They're former Blue Angel pilots, but it's 70 miles away. So there's a gap there of transferring this technology, okay, to the young generation, to inspire them to get into these high-tech industries, okay? We're hiring people from all over the world, but yet we're kind of ignoring our neighbors. I'm just wondering if you have any insights of how we might be able to bridge that gap.
I just talked to Hadi Portovi, who's doing this week the Hour of Code and teaching millions of people around the world, kids mostly, how to code, right? And he's having incredible results with that. Part of what I try to do is by showing you a self-driving car, it's not about you all the time. It's trying to get kids to see that this is going to be the future of how cars are going to be. We're in the middle. I mean, we are the new center of the auto industry, right here. Mercedes is here, Tesla's here, General Motors is here, Ford is here. They all have R&D labs. And that the technology to map the world and understand where the car is in that world is a multi-billion-dollar industry, and it's going to hire a lot of kids. And if they get excited by seeing what can be done with code, they're in, right? Yeah.
It's really important to take offline, I think. Joy, did you have something?
Yes, I guess I'm a little bit surprised that although we have the Internet of Things, Internet of People, Internet of Everywhere, I'm becoming increasingly wondering how I'm not going to participate.
No.
When I want to not participate, just because I actually like being left alone occasionally. And I think there needs to be some device or some system built up where I can decide how much I want to be involved or not involved at different points in the day or different times at different reasons. On vacation, maybe I just don't want anyone to get me or find me for any reason at all.
Yeah.
And I think the privacy we've talked about for a long time, but there's also solitude. And I wonder how we're going to build in those values and sensitivities, because I've been very lucky to have everything all along, early adopter, but I actually am at the edge of the breaking point where I actually want almost less.
That leads into a 6-hour conversation at the bar. Yeah, great.
So I'm encouraged, not because it was an overwhelming theme today, but at least it was mentioned by more than one person. And that is this opportunity we have to do what we can to establish more empathy and more compassion. Yeah. And to do that by doing what we need to eliminate fear and divisiveness between us. I don't think it was a strong theme, but I think it's an important theme, and I think it's actually going to get more play as we get more discussion going.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks.
Okay, we will adjourn to the bar, which is, as you guessed, where we've had the food for the rest of the day. Thank you very much for coming, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Conversation is
How are you doing? I'd like you to see the place over the reality picture.